Hi there, I'm Renee. Welcome to Mental Health Monday. So, this is Thrive Psychology, where we make sense of emotional patterns through psychology, neuroscience, nervous system science, and compassion. And on Mental Health Mondays, we focus on understanding why our reactions make sense. And then on Thursdays, we're going to look at some tools to support us. So, have you ever noticed that sometimes you feel overwhelmed, reactive, or anxious, and other times you feel numb, disconnected, or shut down? And neither state really feels like you. That experience is explained by something called the window of tolerance. Now, the window of tolerance is a concept from trauma psychology and nervous system research that describes the zone where we can think clearly, so our frontal cortex is online, we can feel emotions without being overwhelmed by them, and in light of all that, we can stay present and connected. Now, when we are inside our window, we have access to logic, language, and emotional flexibility. But when stress exceeds our capacity, the nervous system shifts into survival. So if we are hyper aroused and we have too much stress that we can't tolerate, then we may experience anxiety, anger, panic, racing thoughts. We might feel reactive. And if we are if we are hypo aroused, we have too little stress or activation. And then we can feel numb, shut down, disconnected, tired, and we start to feel like, I don't really care. So, this model, window of tolerance, is supported by polyvagal theory and trauma informed neuroscience. Now, I'm realizing that I may have mentioned polyvagal theory a few times without really explaining it. So, polyvagal theory looks at the role of the autonomic nervous system. This is the system that regulates stress, safety, and social behavior. Now, the vagus nerve is a poly system. That's why it's called the polyvagal theory, because it is poly means there are several or many pathways rather than one single nerve. So this polyvagal system manages fight, flight, or freeze. And this can explain that our symptoms are not conscious choices, but adaptive physiological responses to our perception of threat. Okay, so let's look at some relatable scenarios. So you may snap over something small. That's an example of hyperarousal. You go quiet and disengage. That is hypoarousal. Or you want to talk, but you can't find the words. That means you are outside of your window of tolerance. So in this case, if you can't think clearly, you're likely outside your window. It doesn't mean you're failing at conversing with others. It's just hard to manage in that moment. So our window can shrink. And why does it shrink? So our capacity to manage is what I'm talking about. Our capacity to manage can shrink. So that window of tolerance can get smaller. And it narrows with chronic stress, trauma history, burnout, lack of emotional safety, ongoing overwhelm. This isn't a character flaw, it's physiology. So, between stimulus and response, there is a space. That is a famous quote from Viktor Frankl. The window of tolerance is what we're talking about with that space. So, next episode, I'll show you how to recognize when you're leaving your window and what actually helps you come back to it. Now, if this resonates, please like it or share it or subscribe if you haven't yet. So, your nervous system isn't broken, it's responding to the load you are experiencing. You got this. I will see you on Thursday with some tools.